All aboard the train.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Everything Ken-Dall show. Happy to have you here with me today. Um, Today I want to talk about how I believe everything happens for a reason. I mean, no matter what. I mean, I feel like no matter what the situation is, no matter how good or how bad the situation is, unfortunately, um, at times I feel and I really do believe that those things that happens to us are, our message from God. It's God explaining to us or trying to get our attention in some form or some way. And I think that I've been blessed to be able to realize things or situations that happens to me, whether it's good or bad, and that's the reason why I feel the way I feel about it. So whether it's good or whether it's bad, I feel like, hey, it's meant to happen. Like, and so because of that, what that is what builds the faith, right? That is what gives you the ability to first, I guess first you have to know that it is there, right? That you do recognize the fact that it is, you know, a message, or it is something that you are supposed to learn from it, right? So, let's say, for instance, something as simple as you getting a flat tire, right, on your way to work. Now, am I saying it's not meant for you to be at work? I mean, I'm not saying that. All I know is that, it happened for a reason. And so, whatever that reason may be, that may be the case, right? So, that's what I'm trying to, point out. That's what I really want to kind of keep our focus on. So, I'm not saying I know those reasons or I can say, why it happened to you, but I'm saying that it happened for a reason. And because it happened for a reason, that's something that, you should try to find deep down in yourself, right? And obviously, there's tons of, beautiful things that happens to people, randomly, right? And it may even happen to people that you feel like that's undeserving, right? But that's not your place to make that decision if it's undeserving or not. You just have a pretty good idea to say, hey, you know what, based on this person, by me knowing this person based on their actions, they don't deserve it. But at the same time, right, they may do things outside of the time you're with them, right? Or they may have a really, different insight that hasn't been out yet, right? It hasn't been shown yet. And they need to have that spotlight or have that blessing or have that gift given to them for them to be able to show you that, hey, you know what, it's really meant for them to have that value or that worth, right? And so that's one of the things, um that's one of the things that I really want us to try to, keep a mindset on as well, because that's important, right? I don't think it's upon us to decide on, who gets what, or who doesn't get, right. That's pretty much on the judging tool, and that's one of the reasons I tell you guys this all the time. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing these videos, is because, right, is not to really be on the judgmental side of things, but it's more on to get someone to feel, inspired who may not feel inspired, right? You only know that you feel inspired or not, right? I know when I don't feel inspired, right? So you have to know when you don't feel that way. Or let's say, for instance, if you just want to hear something that's, borderline to what you need to hear, you may not know you need to hear it until you hear the conversation. You may read the title and you say, hey, boom, wow, that really makes sense. So anyway, I really want to focus on, believing that things or situations in our lives happen for a reason, and when they happen, it's something that, you have to look at and try to dissect it, and try to find the positive side of it, of how it can make you better versus why it's a bad thing, right? So obviously, I'm not trying to convince you to take something that's bad and say, okay, well, I deserve everything that's bad that happens to me. No, what I'm trying to get you to, what I'm trying to explain or elaborate on is that if something bad ever was to happen, then what we should do as a person is say, hey, listen, okay, well, this thing that happens to me, what I can do to make it better, right? What can I do to make it better, right? Why is this thing happening to me, right? So let's go back to the example with the flat tire on your way to work, right? So let's say, for instance, um, you're on your way to work and you get this flat tire, right? So I mean, if you're in Seattle, right, you're in traffic more than likely, but you get this flat tire, you got to pull on the side of the road. You may get this very important phone call, right? And during that time, you're getting this phone call. It's giving you a time to reflect on that. You can actually not focus on being stressed out in traffic. I mean, of course, this example may not be as horrific as you may want it to be, or it may not be as enlightening as far as the beautiful part of it. But what I'm trying to get to is that it happened for you to have that conversation. And let's say it may not even be another action. It may not be an action for you to receive a phone call, or for something for you to happen, something to happen at the same time that situation is occurring. So let's say if you had that flat tire and the phone doesn't ring, but it gives you enough time to sit down and reflect and say, hey, you know what, this is why. Okay, I understand why I did what I did yesterday or the day before, right? Or why I made that mistake 10 years ago, right? So it gives you that ability, that time to think about that, right? So instead of focusing on just the flat tire, you get the opportunity to kind of focus on, what, I wish I would have never done that. So this is what I do the next time, right? So this is only if, obviously all of this information is for people who feel like, I just don't know what to do with, this time that I have, and I don't know how to look at situations when they happen to me, right? Or I don't understand why good or bad things happen, right? So this is what this information is for: is to give you the ability is to give you the ability to look at it and say, hey, you know what? This happened to me, and so this is how I'm going to, make my difference, right? This is how I'm going to build from it. This is how I'm going to become stronger from it, right? So, I mean, you take advantage of those things. I was talking to someone that's very dear to me, and was having a conversation. We was actually having lunch, and they mentioned to me, "Hey, I don't believe that just because you do something good, excuse me, I don't believe just because you do something good, or you just follow God, step by step, it doesn't mean that anything bad will not happen to you, if that makes sense. So that means that, or what I'm trying to say is, just because you do something day to day, every day, the good way, the right way, right, you just automatically going to get good things. You never have to go through trials or tribulations. Unfortunately, that's not the case. That I completely agree with that. I think that's like one of the most beautiful things, and I honestly think that whoever believes that I mean, unfortunately, they're just naive, and I'm naive about a lot of things. I like this. I came up with the saying the other day. I think that I'm naive, but I'm naive to the point to where I understand the consequences of both, right? So I may believe that me doing these videos is going to enlighten someone, right, or have someone feel inspired, right? Because that it makes me naive, because hey, you know what, I don't know who will listen to these videos or who will not, but I still have that belief, right? And so the consequence is someone may never watch them, or someone may look at him and say, hey, this guy is just not really kicking what I'm trying to hear, or you know that's, or someone may say I love it, right? So I have that battle of being naive about certain things also, right? So I think what it comes down to is you actually have to know the consequences of being the on the worst side of things, right? The consequences, you actually have to know the consequences of even though you may truly believe 110% that something, may or may not happen, you actually have to know both sides, right? So if I completely, believe in something 120%, right, or 110%, you know, I should still know, what the opposite of that is, right? Because I mean, technically, you know, if I don't know what the opposite of that is, then it means that I'm not really, I'm not really sure why I believe in it, right? Because you actually have to know why you believe in what you believe in, right? I mean, I think that's what gives you that ultimate ability to have that faith in the things that you believe in, right? So that was a really a beautiful message they shared with me, and I mean I take that I take it as a grain of salt, and I'm gonna try to cherish that as much as I can because you know people. I mean, if you do a nice gesture, let's say for instance, right, if you help an old lady across the street, right, with her bag of groceries, that doesn't mean that you're going to get $1 million, right? It doesn't mean when you get old, someone is going to help you with groceries. It doesn't mean that, right? You should do things out of the kindness of your heart because you have the ability to, right? Because you have the youth and the strength to do so. And that's the beautiful part of it, right? And that's what I kind of want to keep the focus on, right? Because everything happens for a reason. When you put yourself in an opportunity, you put yourself in a position to have an opportunity to do something that's beautiful and to do something that's great for others, is I believe that it's going to make you a better person. Yes, I believe that. I believe that yes, it's going to make you a better person deep down inside. It's going to strengthen your spirit. It's going to strengthen your courage. It's going to strengthen your will. It's going to strengthen your mind, your body. I think like everything around you. I think your environment. I think it affects everything. I think it just turns everything like the rose that grew up from the concrete. You guys heard of that scenario before, right? Um, it's the rose that grew up from the concrete. So that scenario means that you have cement, right? You're walking down the street and there's just concrete, right? And majority of the time, and this scenario is really meant for like if you lived in the hood, if you lived in a bad neighborhood, right? So you lived in this neighborhood, right? And you have broken glass everywhere. You have no grass can grow anywhere. You just have cement all over the place, right? But this rose is just growing from the cement, right? And this is like it's spectacular. It's beautiful. It's like how did this rose get there? And so you look at it and say, wow, this is a beautiful moment. This is something that happened. And so that's how I feel like the ripple effect of doing great things is. It's you being that rose. No matter what the situation is, you find a way to be that rose. I like that. I like that. Yeah, I mean, I just came up with that, by the way. I never thought about that before, but I thought you guys should know that. And I want us to focus on this message, really, really deeply today, because I really believe that, like I said before, um, everything happens for a reason, whether it's good or whether it's bad. But it's up to us to always try to find that positive light from it. Always try to find that positive light from it, even if it's bad. I understand that there are some terrible things that's going on out there. I understand that this world can be very, very, very dangerous, and I understand that there's a lot of things that tries to add to your fear every day. Every day, I understand that, but you got to keep your faith. You got to believe in God, and you also have to make sure that you look at these situations and you say, hey, you know what? Even though it's not me, I understand that it's not me, and I understand that it could have been me. And I understand that it could have been someone in my family. Or I understand that, every day I have to take it, I can't take it for granted. I have to make sure that I try to do something that's going to be, I heard someone say today, trying to do things to make it immortal, right? And I mean, honestly, I'm not doing this videos for that. I initially was thinking about my children, and maybe I guess in a sense that does make it seem like it's something to leave here for them that will make me immortal. But I'm doing this because I want them to take a look at their father and they can look back and say, hey, listen, you know what? That was my dad. So anyway, so yeah, I mean, just try to do something to make you feel like you're working towards that positive light, right? So anyway, you guys hear the screaming and the noise in the background. We're actually watching the NCAA men's championship game, Gonzaga in North Carolina. It's 46-47, and anyway, I'm happy to have you guys here with me, and I love you. Continue watching. Please subscribe, please.